please, Jay.
Chris Hansen,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Eddie Foreman, John Kramer, Larry Church,
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Dana Miller,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, do we have any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Airport Authority? Okay, with none, we'll move on to current business. Item 1, consideration and possible action to approve Delta Airport Consultants to work with the Airport Authority on all matters involving Federal Aviation Administration and the state grant funds and projects at the airport as recommended by city staff.
We've had very good luck with them. We'll have a little bit of delay while our principal engineer goes in for surgery, but I don't think that's going to put us behind at all. We're just grateful that they've been able to do what they've done. We've been very successful so far, especially with the new FBO. The airport looks wonderful.
And this is the same company we've used for a long period of time.
Yes.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. We will move into the regular meeting of the Seminole Gas Authority. Roll call, please.
Larry Church,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Dana Miller,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
John Kramer, Chris Hansen,
Here.
Eddie Foreman, Jeff Griffin.
Here,
We have a quorum.
consideration and action of consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, do we have any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Gas Authority? Okay, with none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign? Call to order the regular meeting of the Seminole Municipal Authority. Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Eddie Foreman, Tim Poplin,
Here.
Dana Miller,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Chris Hansen,
Here.
John Kramer, Trace Connor,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here,
We have a quorum.
consideration and action of consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
John Kramer, Trace Connor,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, do we have any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Municipal Authority? Okay, with none. Item 1, consideration and possible action to approve utility and roadway easements on the south side of Highway 9 near the high school previously granted and executed by the Seminole Independent School District. Steve, would you
Yes, sir.
explain to everyone?
So several years ago, when we set up the new high school and kind of designed how it might look in the future, we executed a easement that would allow us to come from Highway 9 on the east side of their property, where it would run north and south and tie into our manhole, or our lift station. So We did execute the easements, and for some reason, they never got filed, so we're bringing it back to you to just approve what was previously done.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. With that, we'll move into the regular meeting of the Seminole City Council. Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin.
Here.
Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Larry Church.
Here.
Trace Connor.
Here.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Eddie Foreman. Dana Miller.
Here.
John Kramer. Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for such a beautiful day. God, we thank you for Seminole. Thank you for each one of these council members that are here this evening. We ask that you would bless our discussions and bless our decisions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, we'll move on to elections and appointments. Consideration and possible action to approve the mayoral appointment of Mr. Ryan Bunyan, who resigned from the Planning Commission effective December 10th, 2021, to the Seminole Urban Renewal Authority.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Do we have any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole City Council? Okay. With that, we will move on to presentations. We have a presentation by Canadian Valley Electric regarding fiber optics within the city of Seminole. If you would, please come up to the microphone.
I might add real quick, as you know, we've been having feedback issues in the recent past, and we believe it has to do with cell phones. So if you get up there and there's feedback, you might toss your cell phone over just to, thank you, thank you.
So my name is Zach McLemore. I'm the Director of Marketing and Business Development for CDEC Fiber. So I do appreciate y'all taking the time to kind of hear us out and hear what we kind of have to offer for the city of Seminole. So I previously had worked with Vive. I've worked in this community for the last couple of years, and I know that internet to the citizens of Seminole is a dire need. To have not just internet, but to have reliable, high-speed internet that can honestly grow the community, allow for work from home, allow for virtual learning, allow for entrepreneurs to be able to do their startup with affordable broadband. What CDEC Fiber is doing in the surrounding communities, we're working with towns like Craig, the city of Eufaula, all surrounding Shawnee. We'll be building out across our entire membership. And we are bringing 2.4 gigabytes per second symmetrical. So that means that you're looking at 2.4 gigs of bandwidth up and down to the home. This is one of the fastest in the state, if not the fastest. And we are the pioneers that are doing this in the state of Oklahoma. What does that mean for the city of Seminole? Well, that means that your kids are going to be able to start developing those apps. You know, we look at Minecraft. I know my kids, and I think, oh my goodness, this is so crazy. But they have that entrepreneurial spirit, but it's a lot different than what it looked like whenever I was a kid. And it's a large part technology driven. And they gotta be able to have that high-speed internet to be able to do video conferencing so they can learn, to be able to turn up their servers or to communicate so that they can build that out and so that we can really grow our town into whatever it is we want it to be in the future. So a little about Canadian Valley Electric Co-op. We started in 1939, fulfilling a need. And that need was for reliable power to the rural areas. And so we are member focused. We are owned by our membership. We do not report to a board of directors, so to speak, or shareholders. And our need, or what our mission is to fulfill the needs at an affordable cost to our membership, because they are the ones that tell us what they want. That's what we are looking to bring here as a part of a partnership with the city of Seminole, if y'all would like to welcome us in. And so as we go through that, we're really focusing on what our motto is. And our motto is improve life, serve community. So it doesn't say that we're here to serve power. It doesn't say we're here to serve broadband internet. It's we're looking at the community and we want to make sure that we're improving the lives of each and every person that we are serving. That need right now is broadband. It's been highlighted by the pandemic. Our kids, whenever they were sent home, had to do virtual learning, they got their hotspots, they didn't work. Or maybe they worked for a little while. And it really impeded these last 24 months of their education. And for people that are working from home, they weren't able to maybe complete that task at home. And so now they had to go without hours from work, or they had to commute or find a different job. Well, what does that mean for the city? It means that maybe they're looking to move to Shawnee. Maybe they're looking to move to Prague. Maybe they're looking to move somewhere else where they can get that high-speed connectivity. And that's such a shame, because right here in your backyard in Seminole, Oklahoma, we are looking to fulfill that need and make sure that we meet everyone where they are and we can serve them.
Yeah, I'd
Go
like
ahead.
to help us fit in as well.
Yeah, so this is Sheila Allgood, our GM of fiber.
Yeah, I'm Sheila Allgood. Something that's kind of important for you all to know, we started building fiber at Canadian Valley over a year ago before we ever knew there was gonna be grants or funding, and we were gonna do this in order to serve the communities. We're not looking at coming in and serving everyone and then pulling out and moving on. Our kids, our employees work here. I mean, our employees live here, their kids go to school here. We're here to be a partner with you all. You know, we understand that you're talking to other providers. We're willing to meet whatever the needs are that you all have for the city. And, you know, policing right away, or whatever it is the needs are to help you, you know, get financially going right about the services. Something else that we can do, you know, we are looking at getting some ARPA money. We have, we're gonna serve 2.4 gigabit in the area that's all around the city of Seminole. We have a grant right now submitted to the state to serve the whole county. Without Seminole at this point, we work with the Seminole Nation Indian tribe to work that grant with NTIA, which is a national grant association. So we have a lot of things going on that doesn't include Seminole, and that's our hometown. And Seminole is important to Canadian Valley. And we feel that there's not a better partnership that we could have than to have the community of Seminole as, you know, one of our customers. So we're open to working with you guys in whatever form or fashion that you feel is needed. We would love to go to the state with a grant submission with the city of Seminole. You know, we have it right now. We're submitting with the city of Prague. They're gonna have a 2.4 gigabit network. The city of Eufaula is gonna have a 2.4 gigabit network. The whole community, you know, county of Seminole is gonna have a 2.4 gigabit network to the home. We can even get a 10 gig to the home. We're doing a very new technology, it's state-of-the-art, it's XGS PON. You know, the other providers are doing GPON. We're looking at the future, so that, you know, whenever the time comes that you need more than 1 gig, you have it right there at your doorstep to be able to utilize it. You know, when a company's looking at coming into your town, you know, are they looking at other towns that are gonna say, well, do you have the 10 gig capacity, you know, 100 gig capacity that we can offer? So I think that's what we're here for. We'd love to be a partner. We'd love to build into the city and offer you the CDC fiber network, and, you know, whatever we need to do as a company to work through those processes. Again, we were doing it before the money was on the table to give grants. We were here to do it for the communities, with loans. You know, I think we did have some RDOF money for about $13 million, but the rest of the $100 million build out was no grant, so. Yeah, and any questions you have or wanna visit, let us know, and Zach as well. I mean, if you have questions about what we're here to offer, we're here to answer.
I have a question,
Okay.
a couple of questions. Do you know at this time how many installs you have done?
Yes, we have done 1,024 as of today.
Okay. And your crews and installers, are they separate from your line crews, or is it the same crews running the fiber and a different crew that does the install on the homes?
No, so we have we do have a contractor that actually hangs our mainline fiber. They also do the drop to the home, and they do the home installation.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question. I think I remember from, they were the chamber forum, I think one time there were 5 phases, is that what there was to?
There was 6, actually, and we were able to, we were looking at a year per phase, so we reduced it down to 4 phases. And, you know, based on current funding, it was gonna be about a 4-year build out. But now that, you know, the money's been put into the state to help the broadband infrastructure and to build that out, again, we're going after grants. I believe I've already applied for, you know, almost $100 million in grants funding. But, you know, whether or not it gets funded or not, that's a whole nother story. But, you know, we're looking at building out areas that go with us and get grants within a year. So if we, you know, determine that we're going into a community, and we can discuss that as well, I think, you know, we could build out Seminole in a year. I don't think we do it in 6 or 7 months. I don't think anyone can. It could be done possibly, but that's aggressive. I wouldn't promise that, but I could promise, you know, a year build out. And hopefully I could, you know, we could get it done before that, but I wouldn't tell you that we could unless, for sure.
So do we get bumped ahead of everybody
Yep.
else's stuff?
Yeah.
Please.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. So can you explain a little bit the difference between ZPON and what is it that you're offering?
Yeah, so you're talking about the XGS PON versus the GPON. Yeah, so on the GPON, your max, you know, to the home is gonna be a gigabit. So that's a symmetrical, it's still a great network, don't get me wrong, you know, it's not a bad network. It's a gig to the home, which right now may be a little sufficient, would be sufficient for a home to have. The XGS PON that we're installing is a 2.4 to the home, and we can actually, you know, get up to a 10 gig to the home. But when you're talking gig, that's 2,400 meg, 2,400 meg, up and down symmetrical to the home.
Is that enough for Brad to watch Netflix?
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
been honestly remarkable. We were surprised when we done our business case. We didn't expect as many customers to take the 2.4 gig, and we've like tripled what we thought, you know, the take rate would be on the 2.4. People are getting it because it's just, you know, it's just instant. Everything is instant. Businesses are excited about it, just for the fact that their credit cards run faster, you know, and they don't have to sit there and wait for anything. It's just instantaneous. So we've got a lot of great testimonials that we can share with you on customers that's you know, in the event, not that it would ever happen, that you would ever have an outage, but it could happen. Our technicians are at just 10 miles or so down the road, you know? You're not gonna be down for long whenever you're gonna be a priority, you're gonna be right here where our whole team of technicians and contractors are housed. So, as far as, reliability, being able to maintain the network here in Seminole, being able to respond quickly, all of those factors are gonna be, I don't know that there's another company that's gonna be as close and able to respond and be able to take care of you. Maybe you see it differently, but I just don't see that there's anybody that can step in and take care of the town and make sure that your quality of the network is running efficiently.
What are your rates?
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, our essential package is $65, $85 for the 1 gig, and then $150 for the 2.4 gig. That's our residential rate as far as that goes. So, to Sheila's point, as far as future proofing, I actually started working with schools and libraries in 2011. Whenever I started working with them nationwide, average school was on 100 meg, maybe 500 megs. We fast forward to 2021 now, and most every school is running at least a gig, if not 2 to 5 gigs. You have Tulsa Public Schools who's running on multiple 10 gig circuits. So in a 10-year time period, their bandwidth usage has went up exponentially. And that's due to the influx of video conferencing, of online gaming. Esports is quickly becoming the #1 sports platform. I attended in Oklahoma City, probably about 4 weeks ago, the Oklahoma Education ISTE conference, or Science and Technology Conference. And they actually had all the schools that are participating right there. They brought their machines in, and they were in a tournament for online gaming. So this is something that is growing. The kids are gonna need to be able to practice at home. The schools are gonna need to be able to upgrade their bandwidth to the capacity to be able to do that kind of stuff. And then we all know about state testing. Whenever state testing came out, it was a very static type interaction. Now it has video interaction. It reads the test to them. There's a lot more that goes into it, and the bandwidth requirements on the schools has went up exponentially because of that.
so when it comes down to it, we're here to offer, you to, take us for your network. But, we wanna be a partner with you all, and, just, wanna know what your thoughts are as far as, is this something that the city is interested in?
Just a couple other things. So, right now, we are served largely by a system that felt like it was being overbuilt when it was built. However, as you mentioned, once we started having a tremendous demand, they began throttling their services. So help me understand, if you serve 2.4 to everyone in town, and we all, at some point in 2026, get on and draw 2.6 down, or 2.4, how are you going to have the backbone to be able to backhaul that? Is that something you're thinking about, or is already available?
Yeah, we've already, got that in our forecast. So when you're looking at a glass, and it's that way with any fiber network, then, it's hard to oversubscribe it. It's symmetrical. We have a 100 gig connection that, we're building right now to, level 3, I think it's got a new name now, Lumen Technologies. We have, redundant links, with 2 other providers that whenever, we have monitoring equipment, that tells us, how much bandwidth is being utilized. And at that point, it's just a matter of, honestly, a flip of a switch. It's not like we gotta build another circuit, or we gotta build another line, where it's just replacing equipment to get us that bandwidth that we need to be able to make sure that everybody's got plenty of bandwidth going to the home.
Good. So help me understand, you guys are electric co-op, and I'm assuming that there's going to be something very similar to that structure for fiber optics. Are you planning on drawing from expertise throughout the nation, or is this going to be everybody has their own pod and you're going to design your own, or will there be outside help coming to help engineer?
You know, every co-op has their own way of doing their own network. And we have experts in the field that we've used to help us engineer our network and design it. We also have experts in-house that knows how to design and do networks and build networks. I personally, built and worked and managed the bulk fiber network that was at Northeast Oklahoma Electric. They've got right at 15,000 customers currently and have a very successful network there, and Grove,
Okay.
I've done the build out throughout Grove, Oklahoma, as well. So we've got the team on staff that understands Canadian Valley. I've been with Canadian Valley since February or March. I've got a systems engineer that's got 15 years with telephone. I'll be offering telephone as well in the next probably 3 months. I've got network technicians. I've got an outside plant guy that's built fiber for a couple of decades. So we're set.
Yeah, I think she hit the nail on the head. Sheila has over 20 years of experience doing exactly this. Our network admin guy has over 20 years. He started with IBM whenever they were actually offering services to the public. And then myself, I come in with E-rate experience. I did IT consulting with schools for 7 years. I was most recently over K-12 in healthcare with another organization and in 16 states. And, I'm a small town Oklahoma guy, so that's what really drew me to Canadian Valley at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we've put together a team, or Canadian Valley has put together a team that this is not our first rodeo at the end of the day.
Yeah, so my first network that we built was with Monty Arlee in Merrill. He did a lot of the engineering for Northeast Boat Electric, so at Northeast Electric for Bolt. So, yeah, I've worked with James Lightfoot's another engineering firm that we've worked with, and we're currently working with a national engineering firm that's called Kinexa. So, yeah, there's, a lot of expertise.
Okay.
So you talked about if more bandwidth was needed, you could go in and flip some switches. So question, what's going to be the item that's going to keep it from growing without updating hardware? Is it going to be the fiber optic, or is it going to be the actual hardware that's sending out the?
We built the
Internet.
network as futurized as as possible right now. So, when we first started out, we weren't sure that we were going to do the XGS PON throughout the network because it's new. And we ended up deploying it over toward the Shawnee area. It worked phenomenally well. So we knew that it was a really solid technology. And so we've made the decision to deploy it other places where it makes sense, and grant money is going to allow that to happen. And, so there is a very good possibility that we'll be able to build this XGS PON throughout the whole network. So when you got that technology, we're already ahead of anyone else in the state. So right now, we're currently the fastest internet in the state of Oklahoma. And so we're pretty proud of that. And we don't intend to back down. And as time becomes, 10 years from now, we're going to continue to invest in electronics. We've got our crews are going to be able to maintain the fiber. The electric co-op is going to, the main reason that we actually went into the business of fiber, other than because the members were screaming and begging for it, was, to keep the solidarity of the electric infrastructure and make, for the smart grid. We know that there's going to be electric vehicles, coming on fast and furious. I think we've already got like 600 electric vehicles on the system right now on the grid. And that's just going to be doubling every year And so, you know, we need to be able to know what's on our system, electric-wise. And that's something else that we can bring to the table for, you know, Seminole. You know, we're looking at electric buses for some of the communities that are, you know, some of the schools are looking at that. We're open to, you know, helping with consulting or, working with the city in any way, electric-wise, to help you. I know you're an OG&E community, but as a partner and as, you know, someone that's gonna be hopefully, you know, working with the city on your, fiber infrastructure, we bring to the table, you know, whatever we could to sit down and analyze any way that we could help you on the electric side as well.
So you're saying Jay can start mining his own Bitcoin?
He can, we might build a
Okay.
data center just for that, we're talking
Okay.
about it.
There you go. City-sponsored Bitcoin farm. Mayor, I've got, so let me circle back. I think the mayor asked a question. I'm not sure I heard the answer entirely. You've got contractors that are installing. Great. We get that. We're forecasted to have 50-mile-plus-an-hour winds tomorrow. So if our fiber blows down in Seminole, we're an OG&E community, you know, you're not gonna come bail us out on the power, but we need to know that you're gonna have crews responding, even if there's issues in the county. Are the crews that are gonna be responding to Little the same crews that would be coming here to help us with the fiber?
It's a good question. We will have our own fiber optic crews.
Okay,
And you're gonna have to get your, you know, electric poles up and then your electric set before we can come in and
Oh,
get
right.
that going. So I'm not saying that, you're not gonna see, you know, the line run over here, but we will have our fiber optic crews, ready and available whenever your electric grid is up. We'll be right there behind them. And we're gonna do that same thing for Eufaula, you know, we're gonna do the same thing for Craig, and, you know, we're going into Conawa, you know, Tecumseh, so, you know, we are gonna be a full-fledged technology communications company, so we'll be here to respond. And you're really close, so it's gonna be pretty easy.
one more. What do you need from Seminole to get started? What, are you asking anything of the
Yeah,
council?
I'm gonna ask, you know, we are, wanting to go after some funding from the state. So, number one, a letter of support from the city council, city manager, stating that you support the mission of bringing the broadband into Seminole. And then, any type of in-kind, help that you could do financially. I'm not gonna put a dollar on it, because I honestly don't care what that is, but what I do know is that the legislators look and give a lot more weight to grants that have in-kind support. So, you know, whatever that amount is, that you all feel you could do, we would definitely, that would, you know, strengthen the grant that we're going after for the city of Seminole. So, those two things. And, other than that, you know, we just would love to know that you want us here and, welcome us into your community.
So I have a question. So you're located in Seminole. Your address is Seminole, correct?
Correct.
Can anybody who has any idea about taxes or anything, if by us investing our dollars back into a co-op that's located in Seminole, what benefit does that have for us? Like, I'm thinking, it's not sales tax, right? 'Cause
Well, they're
that's-
located in Seminole County, but their location is up by I-40. So
Right.
they're not actually in the
They're not in the
limits.
city.
Yeah.
So
our
does that,
address is Seminole,
Right,
you know, I
right,
mean,
yeah.
all of our mail is Seminole.
Right.
so does
we're-
it, so does that have an impact on our tax dollars or anything since they're not in the city?
I would refer to our,
You pay property tax just like OG&E, correct?
No, I'm not gonna-
Greg, no? Okay.
I don't think it does. I think that was settled a long time ago with the Spider, annexing.
Would there be sales tax on your bill that goes to the home? Would sales tax be added on that, county and sales tax?
The city can do what they want as long as it's equal with whatever they do with their other providers. So we would be willing to pay,
Leasing the right,
yeah, what is it?
leasing the right of way?
Yeah, policing power or whatever on the right of way. And that would be comparable to whatever, or not comparable, but equal to whatever another provider has, offered or what the city has asked of them. We would do that, absolutely. And if it's 4% that, you know, per customer, that you all, you know, do it as a franchise fee or policing power or whatever, however you want to put that in there, yes, we would pay that. If that was what the, you know, the agreement was with the city, and that's what they do with other providers.
Mayor, I have another question, please, sir.
Please.
The permission for OG&E to, I guess you're going on their poles with the overhead fiber, is that correct?
No, we may just, depending on the grant, we would prefer to go underground,
On everything?
yeah.
And the drops, let's say I sign up for a 1 gig, the drop you bring to my house, if I want to go to 2.4, the same drop will work? You just flip a
Absolutely.
switch and
Yeah,
we
there'll
pay
be-
more money?
Yep. And there's something else that I think is important, we talked about, you know, whenever Steve mentioned, you know, if there's a lot of people on the network and, you know, the speeds was slow, and that's not the case with this network. Something else that's not the case with this network is we don't do any data caps. So, you know, there's 0 data caps. You know, we want to offer the same pricing that we do throughout our system, which is what, Zach had told you before. Now, of course, if there's a percent that the city, you know, puts on for policing power or right of way or whatever it is, we would have to pass that on, but, in some form or fashion. You know, I'm not saying it has to say that. We would work with the, city to determine how that was put into the pricing, just like any other provider will have to do. But the answer is you would have the same cable that goes to your neighbor that takes 1 gig versus the 2.4 gig, and you would have the same equipment. Yes.
But your plan is going underground right now?
We would go
100%.
underground unless, you know, we could work out something in some areas with OG&E, maybe a hybrid type network. Yeah,
Zach, hand her the mic real quick. We're getting tons of text from the viewing audience that they can't hear. Can you hand her that microphone real quick? Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I'll break out in song.
You got to dance too, dear. Yeah, you answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you,
Would you
Mayor.
mind repeating that? I mean, just so everyone.
The
can
question
hear.
was, if he wanted a 2.4 gig symmetrical circuit to his house, would that be the same cable, the same equipment that someone else was getting that had a lesser service? And the answer is yes. It's all the same fiber. The provisioning is done at our office. Whenever you decide you want 2.4 gig, we take care of that provisioning internally and give that directly to, you know, whatever fiber is on going to your home. Yeah, and we've got speed tests, you know, that people post on the internet that they're blown away because they'll hit their speed and it's like 2.5 gig up and 2.4 gig down. I mean, it's a real deal. It's pretty phenomenal.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
I wanted to go back to appearances or petitions from the audience. Did we have someone that wanted to?
Well, did you want to,
Yes. Okay, please come up to the mic if you would and give us your name and address.
My name is Jennifer Cheatham. I live at 1731 Lewis Avenue. I've lived there since 2010. And I inherited it from my family. And so I'm not originally from Oklahoma. I'm not originally from Seminole. I've been having consistent issues with my neighbor harassing me. And it stems around, the focus is the dogs, okay? But, I mean, the guy consistently harasses my dogs and provokes them, stands staring, yelling at them. There's been several calls. I even took a ticket because I didn't know what happened. But when I did get the ticket, the guy was in my yard with his dog, and I should have never got a ticket, and I should have never pled guilty, and I just didn't know what happened, and I was trying to be compliant and get it over with and move on with my life and be peaceful, and I just try to stay away from him as much as possible, but it is consistent. And I've made 4 police reports, and I called today because I can't even have wood delivered without him trying to talk to my wood guy. What does he need to talk to anybody in my yard for after he's already drugged my dogs and he takes pictures of my bathroom window and my daughter is in there and he's not been arrested? And I don't understand what I need to do to get help. So I'm here. Here I am. Please help me.
When you said it drugged your dogs, you don't mean like drag, you mean like
Drug.
medication.
With Xanax. And I had to hoist my dog to the veterinarian. And this is a letter from my veterinarian saying that my dog was drugged. The only person in the vicinity of us that has a problem with my dogs is this guy. The only person. I'm a mental health professional in this community. I provide mental health services to this community. I have credentials, and I mean, I'm not just some nobody. Like, I need help. And I need to be left alone. I just want to be left alone. I want to be able to go to my office and leave my daughter at home and know that this guy isn't going to be doing whatever. I came home today from my office, and the guy was unloading wood, and the neighbor's on his back step talking to the guy. For why? Why do you need to talk to anybody over in my vicinity for any reason after you've drugged my dogs and you take pictures and you harass me constantly? I was gone during Thanksgiving week. I had somebody watching my house. He takes these opportunities to call the dog people. Okay, my dog is elderly. I've had him for 11 years. I have a German Shepherd that is 2. I feel like if I put my old dog down, according to his wishes, then he's going to go after my German Shepherd, who is not aggressive at all. And neither one of my dogs are aggressive, but they do not like him. And they do bark at him. And his dogs are constantly at my fence. I have videos of that. I've contacted Margaret Mattingly and sent her the video. I've talked to the police chief. I've talked to Steve, the city manager. And I've also tried to get a protective order. The reason I was denied a protective order is because we've never been in an intimate relationship. We're not related, and we do not have children together. That is the most ridiculous thing that I have ever heard. I do deserve to have a protective order. I am being stalked. I am being provoked. My pets are being provoked. My family's being harassed. And enough. Please, somebody help me.
We're not able to take any action because you're up.
I know.
Actually telling us, but we can't take any action for council. I just want to make sure.
I
you
understand that.
understood
I'm just here to say that this is happening in this community, and it needs to stop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for
Yeah.
coming up. and
Sir,
telling us.
here's my card. That's my card. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to current business. Consideration and possible action to approve utility and roadway easements on the south side of Highway 9 near the high school, previously granted and executed by the Seminole Independent School District.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Jim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 2, discussion and possible action to codify by ordinance a stabilization reserve fund for the purpose of receiving, holding, and accounting for amounts designated as stabilization reserves, with the funds to be contributed by the general fund and other funds as deemed appropriate by resolution of the city council. I'd like to say this was something I had asked for, really specifically, for the maintenance that will be required on Bourne Boulevard. Because we know that will be very costly, and we don't have anything designated for it. We do for roads improvement, but that's typically handled through our taxes that we receive in through a bond and through the tax revenue. I just feel that at some point, we're gonna have a high price tag and not have anything in reserve for that area. Now, a few of the things that was in your packet that you saw were from some other cities on how they've worded that. And so I just wanted to mention that's why this is on the agenda. You know, we really need to look at maintaining what we have and then planning on maintaining what we have when the big bill hits. So Steve or Jay, would you either one like to add anything to that?
Well, for several years, we've talked about having different funds that would be earmarked for things such as this, or swimming pool, or something that from year to year we can contribute out of the general fund into those fund accounts and be able to draw upon them when needed. So I think this is a creative way to get there.
So the wording, how do we get to the wording? Because we had several samples. Is this something you would, if approved, then create a draft for the council to approve at a later date?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I remember the night the highway department came and told us that we would inherit Bourne Boulevard. And I'd ask about, the maintenance on it and what kind of, and they said that they would improve it, put a new surface down, and they've completed all that stuff, or they would not. But we were going to get it anyway. And that it was gonna cost what, like $1 million to
Two million,
resurface
yeah.
that, and it'd probably be with 2 million,
Yes,
and within 10 years.
right.
And so, he asked, and I said, well, have a fund for that? He said, well, do you have one? Well, no, we don't. And so, Mr. Mayor, I'm really glad that you brought this up, because we need it.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 3, consideration and possible action to approve the interlocal cooperative agreement between the City of Seminole and the Academy of Seminole.
So, can I go,
Please.
Mayor? Okay, so we oftentimes with various government agencies or schools, for example, we will have interlocal cooperative agreements. Most often, they don't have a track hose sitting around or something, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to taxpayers when we've got a city track hose sitting there and a school needs it for 30 minutes to go spend whatever, $15,000 to go rent one and spend the time to dig it. So they allow us to have interlocal cooperative agreements. We have such a thing with the Seminole Public School District. Ren Hawthorne is our superintendent. Is that the right? Okay, superintendent for the Academy of Seminole. And there are some things that they need, and we've got the expertise to do fairly simply. And so we're coming to you for approval to execute a interlocal cooperative agreement. Now, this is a little more technical than what I'm making it sound like, because this has to go to the Attorney General's office to be approved. They want to make sure we're not trying to do something funny. So we will make sure that that happens and everything is tied up very nicely before we do what we need to do.
So even if we do approve it tonight, then it won't become legitimate until it's reviewed?
Yes, well, it'll have to be approved by the board, the Academy's board as well, if that's not already been done. We'll approve it, and then we'll send it to the Attorney General's office for review, like we did the last one.
Well, I move to approve.
Well, can I ask a question first?
Certainly.
So I like the idea of sharing resources, basically that's what this is. When we do share those resources though, is it pulling away from any city resources, or is it, if there's ever a conflict, would city resources take priority, or city needs take priority, or will that be addressed in this?
The answer is absolutely. The city will take priority. If we can help, we will get to it when we can.
Okay.
It's not going to go to the top of the list. There's certainly no provision in this agreement that says we're going to respond immediately when we get the phone call. So it's just when we can, if we have it available, we'll pitch in and help you.
This is more like a pledge, almost like a memorandum of understanding between the government agencies. And there actually is provisions in there, some verbiage that talks about sharing resources to correct things or impair or improve things conditions that currently endanger public health. I'm trying to use an example, but maybe there's a giant pothole or something on the school property that the school buses can't get around, that's when we would come in and do that and help them out, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
We have to remember that, even though it's another school in Seminole, the people that go there are Seminole kids, a lot of them, and families, so I'm good about supporting that. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the table.
Yes. I move to approve, yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call please, Jackie.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor, Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Consideration and possible action to approve accepting grant funds of $234,265 from the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services over a 4-year period to assist with the payroll cost for 2 additional police officers, a 75-25 match grant, with the city's share being $81,088 or $20,272 per year, not thousand. Any questions?
I have one. So when the 4 years is over, what's the sustainability of us being able to keep those
Yeah.
officers on board?
Sharon there she is. Is it 2 years? 2 years, 1 year? We're required to keep those 2 officers on for 1 additional year. So, we would be on the hook for the entire salary and benefits for a full year after the grant ends.
Will these officers be of a special nature of any type, or will it just be an extension or an expansion of our current force?
Well, they'll just be an expansion of our current force. Now, Fielding, Fire Chief asked that they be able to fight fires when needed, but we didn't go there.
He did not do that.
Yes.
Is there something special, since this is a grant that allows us to do this beyond the normal 1 year at a time for the city, since this is a 4-year commitment, basically?
We've done them before, but I'll defer to Brad on how we are allowed to do a multi-year grant.
You're probably talking about the Municipal Budget Act and the ability of us to commit funds past a budget year. It's a good question. I think honestly, I think that this is not going to require us to budget those officers, but what it does mean is that if we don't, we're gonna owe the money back, or there's gonna be some grab back at some point, some reach back.
If you say
Probably at
it's
the
legal,
worst.
as long as you say it's legal, then
Yeah,
I'll motion to approve.
I know that we've done this in the past with DUI officers, I mean, in all the municipalities have done this, I mean, probably most of them. So, I mean, I'll look into it to make sure, but I'm not really concerned. I think that there's a mechanism for that.
I have another question. So this covers, the salaries for the two officers. Are there any other resources that we would need to come up with? Vehicles or equipment, or does it include those as well?
It does not include the additional equipment that you're talking about.
Would additional equipment be needed?
Clothing, we provide clothing on occasion. Sharon, I'm getting way out on a limb here. Do you have anything you want to clarify on what we're required to do in terms of getting the officers prepared? Mhm.
So the grant was just for salaries. Anything other than salaries and benefits, it is the responsibility of the city to provide. So, vehicles, bulletproof vests, clothing, anything that is, there for the other officers, we would have to provide for these officers as well.
Now, you said vehicles, but it could mean they're gonna be driving an old vehicle or someone that's a new one.
It very well could.
We
or
have
a bicycle.
bicycles.
Or bicycles.
That's right.
Motorcycle.
Or on the bike?
Transportation, how about that?
There you go.
I got a horse, I'll give them.
So I have one more question. So, remind me, how many officers do we have now?
11 officers currently.
So this will bring us up to 13?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. I just think it's a good deal, given all of the resources that we need, and they're bringing us some, and I approve. Thank you.
Second, okay. Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 5, consideration and possible action to approve accepting grant funds of $10,000 from the Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security to assist with payroll costs of the Emergency Management Director. He does not.
Free money.
We already have an emergency management director. This is just to supplement our cost for his.
Right, this is an every year thing that, yes, Ernie, yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 6, discussion and possible action regarding an agreement with Dobson Fiber to provide fiber optics within the boundaries of the city of Seminole with an estimated 4,200 customer meters, AKA pass-bys, including consideration of the American Rescue Plan Act, funds directed for the expansion of suitable internet bandwidth to rural communities, and allocation of $200,000 of Seminole's ARPA funds to fiber optic expansion.
Is this in lieu of what the presentation from these folks?
Yes.
Okay. And these are the folks that was here 2 meetings ago?
Oh, they're here tonight.
Yeah, Jim's here tonight.
Provide some
Jim
further
Horsberg, we've been working with them in the past. We've been kind of volleying the agreement that is in your packet back and forth. Yesterday, I received a red line version of that, and I've not been able to really get into all of it that I needed to really make a recommendation, but Jim's here to answer any questions that you might have of the document that you have in your packet.
I have a question. question.
Sure. You
So
fixed
it-
them up to the mic. Thank you.
Oh, I was like, do you want me to go?
No, not you.
Okay. So do we have an opportunity to have, given the presentation today, have maybe a side-by-side comparison before we make a decision? Or I'm not sure if that was already I didn't see it in the packet if it was in there.
Well, your brilliance is ahead of me. That's exactly what we need to have before I think you can make a good decision. Especially, this is new to me, the XGF pond, that's new to me. I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with that, so.
And that's not unique.
Shop-
We're deploying the exact same technology. and
Okay.
We're offering 100 meg to 10 gig on that same solution. It's not really a technology play.
Okay.
I would just like to see, just given I have notes from the last presentation, but I'd like to see rates side by side, speed side by side, just different things like that. Maybe just on a real simple table so we can make a better
Well,
decision.
I think probably what'll happen is Steve and staff will probably compile all that since we didn't really have a chance to look at all this and provide us some final things to look at or.
I can do that.
Okay.
So we need to table this, Mayor?
Well, I think we'd still like to hear any updates or questions be answered that you guys might have while he's here. And so if there's things you learned tonight that you didn't know before, that brings on additional questions. I unfortunately was not here when you were here last time, and so they got to hear all of that. I did read up, from it and watch the video, but sometimes you can't really hear when the video plays back. So, anyone have any additional questions? Are there things you'd like to add?
Well,
tonight?
and obviously I wasn't prepared to go back and forth on beauty contest, but, I think one thing that sets Dobson apart, we've been in the telecom business since the 1930s. We have about 4,900 route miles of fiber throughout the state of Oklahoma, West Texas, and Arkansas. We have our own fiber routes, diverse routes, down to 1950 centers where we pick up our internet content from GTP, Zayo, and Cogent. We have ample capacity around the network diversity that traverses Seminole, so we definitely have a hardened carrier-grade network. Over 400 connections, tower connections reside on our network. I would say that the most difficult customer to deal with are cellular carriers, and they trust us with their network. And so we're proud of the fact that we have a carrier-grade network. One thing to consider is, from an economic development standpoint, is having that carrier-grade network and trying to woo in new businesses as they ask, can I get a 100 gig wave down to Dallas? Can I tap into AWS, Azure, and the other virtual data centers? We have 2 diverse routes going down to Dallas, which we believe gives us a competitive advantage over just about anybody in the state. But the deployment that you heard earlier tonight, the technology is no different than what we're deploying. We're in Nokia shop. We're deploying XGS PON. We will oversubscribe the nodes and make sure that the fiber has ample capacity to make sure the citizens have whatever bandwidth they so desire. But again, our plans are similar, 100 meg, gig, 10 gig, and we'll probably slot one in between 1 gig and 10 gig between now and deployment. We have asked for a small subsidy, if you will, as part of this, but it is not contingent on a larger grant. The $200,000 request is just a small component of the overall build cost, and we do believe from go, it would take about a year to complete the build.
Mayor?
And in terms of difference in deployment methods, we will put as much in the air as we can. We have a close partnership with OG&E. We're currently building 350 miles on their behalf. They're a good partner of ours. There are pros and cons with aerial versus buried. Backhoes don't typically hit buried cable, aerial cable. And so ice storms are a point of concern. We did not experience outages through the last ice storms a year ago. Never say never, but there are pros and cons with buried and aerial. Our most common outages are related to construction, people not calling in locates or inadequate locates to where backhoes are finding cable. So it would be a mixture for us, both aerial and buried.
So,
I kind of agree with Council Lady Miss Miller. I think we really need to look at this side by side and maybe have both of you back, because we'll have questions after comparing apples with apples. And that's just my 2 cents worth, so y'all decide what you want to do, fellow council members.
I would agree. I mean,
We have some other questions before we.
I'm just making the assumption that either service, if we currently have buried electric, buried, internet, it would remain buried, I mean, coming into our neighborhoods, the way they are, I mean.
We
there wouldn't be
would not
poles for you
touch
to run
existing
on.
facilities.
I mean, but you'd have to bury your new, or your service as well, if
Yes.
we would currently have buried services.
Said differently, if you don't have electric poles within your neighborhood, we would have to bury it to get into your neighborhood, no doubt.
Do you have permission from OG&E to tackle their poles?
Yes. Now, we will have to put in a pole attachment application for any pole that we want to attach to, but it's a very friendly relationship and a
Good.
fairly quick one at that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, we need a motion to table this. Yes.
is that a motion? Second, I'll second.
Did you make that motion?
Sure, I'll make the.
I didn't hear you make a motion.
I thought that's
I
what
thought
he
you
did.
were
It was
asking
like
me
a
to come up with a formal one, but I think we all are on the same page.
Okay. And we had a second. Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes. Table, I guess.
Yes,
Right.
this
That
is on
what
the
you're voting
motion to
for,
table. Yes, sir.
I would agree.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion to table passes.
Item 7, discussion and possible action concerning notifications from the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture regarding the animal shelter, as well as complaints from citizens about animals running at large.
Okay. So I know that we've had several council members that have been fielding questions and really concerns from citizens that are seeing animals run at large. Specifically, when we have employees of the shelter explaining that they're not going to pick them up because there's not enough room. That has been reported. I don't pretend to know how accurate that is. I've never been in the presence of someone that said that from our shelter. So, but it's an important issue. I do see at-large animals, and on the heels of that, one of the citizens had called the Ag Department. The Agriculture Department, Oklahoma Agriculture Department is over non-municipally owned shelters or non-municipally run shelters. So the Ag Department came out. They did an evaluation. They had a correction list. It was really lengthy, basically dealing with overcrowding issues, inappropriate sizing of enclosures, and the fact that many of the animals were standing in wastewater. There's several other things, but we've had a chance to visit with the Humane Society that operates our shelter, and the two principal ladies are back here to field any questions that you might have. It's my understanding, although I've not been notified by the Ag Department, Food and Forestry Division, that they've been corrected. It's my understanding from these ladies that these, in fact, have all been met and dealt with. So if you have any questions, we can have them come up. If not, I'd like to hear what direction you want to go. So the options that you have are that the city takes back the operation of the facility and would immediately reinstitute the euthanasia program that many of the communities, well, I can only think of maybe a couple that don't have a euthanasia program. So that is a standard way that municipalities control the population and have space in their facilities. Seminole is very unique, and we're very fortunate to have what we refer to as a no-kill shelter. These people work extremely hard in trying to either foster pets, these animals out, or relocate them to other areas of the country that have a need for these pets. So that is an option, but that's up to the council. You guys make the policy, and we'll abide by whatever you guys decide. But I think the last that I heard, and these ladies can verify, is that Jasmine Moran has said that she is going to make sure that the animal shelter has room for new captures to be. She's going to make sure of that, whether she has to rent space somewhere else in a kennel or otherwise. She really is passionate about keeping this a no-kill shelter. So I think that's about all I can bring to you, but I know from visiting with several of you that at-large animals is a big concern.
Well, I would like to start by saying that, I love animals, and, the thought of having to euthanize animals or pets is, just tugs at me, and I think it does most people. But when I get information from a male person that said that a male man, postal employee, that there's dogs on a street where they deliver and nothing has been done, and they're going to basically shut down delivering mail to those homes, that's very concerning to me. And we can't operate that way as a city. I love the fact that, people will adopt these animals, but sometimes there's just not enough people to adopt because these animals are running free and, they just keep reproducing. But, I'm encouraged by, what you said and the work that you guys have done to clear up the problems that are there. I've also received a lot of calls from people on cats and other things, and I know those are problems as well. I think, we need to take care of the animals that are running loose. We just have to. Some of them are safety concerns. But I think as long as you guys are able to continue to do that moving forward, I'd love to see you still operating and doing the work that you do. But, I don't want to hear my mailman tell me they're going to threaten to shut down delivering mail. If they do, I'll give you a call and let you know, because that's not acceptable. And I'll leave it with others if you have any comments or thoughts.
I'd just like to mention that I'm on the Humane Society Board and have been for 10, 12 years, and I volunteer every so often at the shelter, and I've yet to see conditions that you had mentioned were in the report. So I'm not sure if this is an overzealous report from someone who, I know we've dealt with this issue several times before. It was the same person. There's a part of me that's almost thinking it's a personal vendetta type deal. When we hear these reports about the animals, what you said they were standing in filth or different things like that, I can personally attest I've never witnessed that. I do know the Humane Society folks and the animal control officer work tirelessly to get control of the overpopulation, and there is in fact an overpopulation. And I would like to see more efforts going towards free or reduced spay and neutering in the city. And so there, I had a talk with Mary Ann about that, maybe we could start looking into grants and those type of things to start addressing that before it gets to the issue it is today. But I do just want to mention that, I have yet to experience those personally, but I have experienced the tireless work that they do. And, I would encourage anyone to go out and go visit the shelter and walk a dog. And, there's lots of solutions out there, but unfortunately volunteering is going to be one of them that's going to help make a difference. So I would encourage all of the city leaders to, think about that and think about, helping us get to the solution before we start the discussion of euthanizing, because I do know that is one of the things we hang our hat on, is that we don't euthanize these pets, these animals, these homeless pets that come to the shelter. And I know Mary Ann and Marta are here as well, and I just want to thank you for all your work that you do. That's all.
Well, I have two concerns about stray dogs. One is that people feel unsafe walking in my neighborhood. A gentleman's coming down the street with a stick, and I just stopped and asked, well, why are you carrying a stick? And he said, well, it's for dogs. I go on a walk because the dogs are out. It's been a while, but the postman came to my door and told me about a dog that was attacking a gentleman in a scooter. And pretty defenseless position to be in. And the other is, I don't want them pooping in my yard. And I have some shoes on the back door. Where's the last time I mowed the lawn? But I know what dog poop is. I grew up on the farm. I could step in about any kind of poop except dog poop. And just to get to the basics of it, I love the idea that we are euthanizing animals.
Not
That we, oh, I thought I said not. That we're not, okay. That we're not euthanizing animals. And as long as the populations can be controlled, it makes no difference to me. I don't think that spaying or capturing, spaying, and releasing, like for cats, for instance, controls populations of cats. I looked at research, I have in the past. The other thing is that I have small grandchildren, and they live in New Hampshire. When they come to visit, I'd like to feel like it's safe for them, and I had no concern about that really, because my daughter or son-in-law is always in their presence. And I was talking to my daughter last night, night before. I said, hey, we've got this thing coming up on the city council, I'm sort of torn here about this. Having grown up in the country where dogs were released, hoping that they would find a new home, rarely happens. What we ended up having to do was kill the dogs. So she said that in the places that she visits regularly, where family lives, it's Oklahoma, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, that she sees more stray dogs here than any of the places that she goes to. So if we can control the population, or we can remove dogs from the streets and keep them from pooping in my yard, I'm happy that we don't euthanize. But if we can't, then we really need to take a good look at what can be done to control the populations at large. If either of you would be glad to, if you would like to address us and tell us how the future plans involve controlling the loose dogs and cats. Cats, my big thing about cats is that they kill all the songbirds, the loose cats. Songbirds typically nest about 6 to 8 feet, or 4 to 8 feet, and that's within cats' reach, and and I haven't had but it's just a few songbirds in my yard in Quapaw. And I see lots of cats, especially around the Sonic area, where they can scrounge food. So, could you, one of you ladies like to tell us how you plan to address animals at large?
Well, I'm Marta. I think we've been doing that somewhat for the last 3 or 4 years. We do need a bigger shelter. We need better pet owners. We need some new laws implemented. Backyard breeding is bad. Some cities, like Tulsa now, it's a requirement that your animal be spayed and neutered. That would be a big plus here. We have 38 animals in our shelter now. We're allowed 49 under the state census, and that's our max. And we've checked off all the items from the Department of Ag. Spent about $5,000. We've fixed the things that they wanted us to fix. And when they say, though, that the animals are standing in their own feces, she means the minute they poop, it has to be picked up. And while I understand that's a goal, you don't want one pile of poop in the run, but we're not talking about a lot of poop in a run. She means the minute they poop, we need to be standing there picking it up. That was her complaint. So that seems a little bit, that's a lot, but we've been doing it. And I do think that we would like to change the hold time before they're adopted out. I think the city ordinances say 5 days. If we talked with you and John Withers in the meeting last year, we'd like to change it to 3 days as far as before they're ready to be adopted out, because the longer we hold them, then the more room they take up. So as far as the width of the runs, they're too narrow for our large dogs. So that was her complaint also. So we've cleaned out the garage. We bought portable kennels, huge ones for the large dogs, because we don't want to just like euthanize anything over 50 pounds. And they're in the garage, and we've got enough space for the other ones. But I think realistically, if we stayed at 40 or 45, under the 49, our staff be able to keep the place clean. Jasmine doesn't want to euthanize anything. And when we say we're no-kill, that technically is not correct, because we don't adopt out aggressive animals, and most of our aggressive animals are pits. And I will send them over to be euthanized if they've attacked another dog or chased a kid or whatever. So when we say no-kill, we mean it's no-kill for space, you know. But we pick up every stray. I have the dispatch phone, and I get every dispatch that my animal control officers get, and we're on it within 5 minutes. And we never miss a call. So if it's called in, we take care of it. As far as the mailman, the postmaster has my personal phone number. She texts me a lot. She'll say, hey, we got something going on over here. She did it on a Saturday. We were on it.
That's good.
And so you can check with her. And also code enforcement, Amy, she's got my cell phone number, and she'll call me, hey, we got something going on over here, and we're on it. We're not perfect. We're just, one animal control, but I do animal control myself, and I do this all for free. It's a volunteer basis. So I'm on the streets every day. I see a lot of cats. I don't see a lot of dogs, but yeah, there is a feral cat problem here in Seminole. I really don't have a solution for it. We trap them. Whenever we get calls on them, we do trap them, and we either relocate them or we euthanize them, because we don't have a feral cat program. So those are, I think, a spay and neuter situation like Tulsa has, where you're required to spay and neuter your animal, would be great. I still believe in the ordinances. There's a kennel license. You can have a kid. I don't think anybody needs a kennel license, and I don't think they need to be backyard breeding. That would be helpful. When Dave Hansen was here, he wanted to implement some kind of tag system. I never really could have grasped it. He explained it to me 2 or 3 times, all of us, but like a tag system where when we pick something up, we know if they've been spayed or neutered, and that we'll have a record of them. That was an idea too. But I think spaying and neutering, making it a requirement, would go a long way to help the overpopulation. And then, of course, we've got the chain ordinances where you can't leave it on for so long, but you have to have somebody to drive around and make sure that that's adhered to. And we're just a small group, but we go on calls at night. We go on calls on the weekend with the small force we have as far as animal control, we try to cover the bases. We're not perfect, but I think we do a really good job. But I don't have a answer for feral cats. There are quite a few of them. We trap them. We do a lot of trapping, but I'm just not so sure what you do with the hundreds and hundreds of feral cats. That's something I don't have an answer for. But as far as the postmaster, and then as far as Miss Cheatham, she did contact me a couple of days ago. She's feuding with Mr. Williams, her neighbor, and he has 2 dogs and she has 2 dogs. And I think one of her dogs and his got into a scuffle through the fence. One of them got a scratch, I think Mr. Williams' dog, and it's been just like nonstop ever since. I think they're having a feud, and I'm not sure what ordinance we would enforce for the dogs. I think they need to go to anger management, both of them, or something, get some counseling, but it doesn't have anything to do with the animals, is my opinion. So I feel sorry for her, and I feel sorry. He went into the police department this past week, so they're really having, Larry's my neighbor. I don't fight with Larry. We get along.
Yeah, she has lots of dogs.
Yeah, I have lots of, I have
and
3
none
dogs
of them
left,
bother me.
but now I know not to ever let them even attempt to go in his yard and poop, but they'll go across the street.
Give him
They're
time.
too old now. But
She
I'm gonna send them
appreciates
over
the
when they
use
get
of your
home.
yard.
But honestly, if you don't get along with your neighbors, it's bad, and if you've got a dog, they're gonna use it. So that's kind of the situation with Ms. Cheatham, Mr. Williams. So I'm not really sure. I told her I'd talk to you and John Withers, but I'm not so sure what we would do about it, because what ordinance am I going to enforce with their animals? Her pit hasn't really done anything. It's not running large. They haven't bitten anybody. None of them have, none of the 4 dogs. So that's that, and then.
She's done what we would have advised her to do. There's nothing we can do. But to go get a protective order against her neighbor, and there's still a mechanism to do that without being related to
Well, I
someone.
thought-
You just have to have a report with that with it. But if the judge didn't do anything in district court to give her a protective order, then she didn't meet the burden.
Right.
So there's nothing, they're just gonna have to, there's nothing we can do.
And then, just lastly, unless you have questions, the animal control that we did on the Weaver animals is what got this whole thing rolling with the Department of Ag, and then the lady who came up here, who, I'm not sure what she said because there's no audio, probably thankful for that, but it's all revolves around this one animal control issue. And if anyone has seen the pictures and the recitation of how that call went down, we did our job and we're standing by it. They were supposed to have a hearing before the judge, I think December, and now it's put off to January 7th because they called and said they had COVID. I don't know if they have COVID. I see them running around town. I don't know what they're doing. But it all stems, but I'm not negating the fact that, yeah, when she came down, we had 56 animals in the shelter, and she doesn't like anything doubled up, and she wanted some repairs done. We spent about $5,000, and I think we've gotten those taken care of. So, it's an ongoing thing, and honestly, if she showed up next week, no matter what we did, I think she'd probably find something. But if you have to stand at the back of a dog while it poops to be sure it's picked up within a millisecond, I'm not so sure that we're ever gonna pass muster. But we do the best we can. And that's really no exaggeration. Steve's been around it, you've been around it. So it's just, but all in all, I think we do a wonderful job, and we want people to call dispatch. We want them to tell us, if there's something running at large. Larry knows where I am. People know my numbers and names all over everywhere. Postmaster has it, code enforcement, everybody, Steve, everybody. So, whatever we can do to make it better, I'm all for.
Is there a way to determine the population of at-large dogs, and so that there could be some kind of measurement about if implement a different policy or approach that you can measure that?
Like, how would we know how many at-large dogs are running at large right now? Well, no, because during the daytime, they're not running at large. But then after 4 o'clock hits and they know the animal control officer is off, they're gonna let Susie and Bobby out to run and do their business across the street. So it would be good, I think, to probably pay my animal control officer a little bit more, and like I told Steve, and we have done that, patrol the streets after hours, and we now have the truck that has animal control on it. That's real helpful, because I think it deters some people. But that's a lot of that is what they do. They let them out after hours. Oh, the animal control's off. The only way that we could know how many animals are in town in city limits would be the tag system, and I never could grasp that concept. But it sounded, Dave Hansen swore by it, but I think it'd go a long way if we could just change the ordinances from 5 days to 3, and then we can adopt them out, move them quicker. And I really do think we ought to look at implementing a spay and neuter policy here in town. Making everybody spay and neuter, and if they don't want to, they can get rid of their animal.
I
Because
have,
there are a lot of low-cost spay and neuter clinics.
I have two things. One is, I think you probably should get with Sharon and look at our current one, and with some of the suggestions, let the council take a look at those suggestions and see what we would want to adopt.
I think so.
I
There's-
don't, again, it seems to make sense to me to go from 5 to 3, but there may be reasons why we went to 5 in the beginning. I
It's
mean, I
been
know
that
if
way
I-
forever.
If my little dog got out, I'd call there first, but some
Yeah.
people may not.
Well, it's just like most people, you know, they'll sit there a little bit longer, but yeah, you want time to get your animal out from the shelter. But it'd be nice if we could move them out just a little bit
Right.
quicker, because if you pick them up on a Wednesday or Tuesday, and then you, 5 days, and then you hold them through Sunday and then Monday, and, you know, it just helps with the space issues. But you want to give the community time to pick up their animal too.
The second thing is, I think we found a vehicle for one of those officers that we're gonna hire. Be driving around at night.
Oh, yeah.
Any,
Yeah.
any other comments or questions?
How many dogs is a person allowed to have?
3.
3?
And you know, that's, just 3 animals, that's what the ordinances say. You know, of course, John Raines, when he was here for 10 years, and then Brian, and then when we took it over, if we don't, they're not out causing problems and raising heck and whatever, kind of lenient on that. So, but if they're out causing problems, it's just, 3 that, the main thing are the backyard breeders, and the ones who are breeding their pits in their backyard, we gotta stop it.
Well, and I don't know, I have a little bit of an issue of telling somebody they gotta spay and neuter all their dogs. I have 3, they're all spayed and neutered.
Right.
I have 2 that are Yorkies, but had I wanted to breed one of my Yorkies with another Yorkie somewhere else, I would want that right to do that. And I'm sorry, I disagree that everybody has to spay and neuter all their animals.
Right.
I mean, they need to be held responsible in some way, but I think that's pushing it a little too far.
Be nice if
I mean, and
everybody would just, your little Yorkie, but they're breeding pits in the backyard, that's the problem.
I know,
That's the
there's
big
gotta
issue.
be some workaround that allows people to still be able that have these, dogs that they wanna have other dogs with because they like them. That there's gotta be some exception. I
I agree.
I mean, there's gotta be a workaround, but
I agree.
but yeah, the people who just let their dogs, do whatever in the backyard and you end up with this problem, that's a
what you
totally
have,
different
right.
situation.
And I'm sure
But when
that's
you-
not you.
When you
for
put a
sure.
blanket fix across the board like that, then you affect people who are
Yeah.
responsible, and I don't like that.
Have to have some carve-outs. There's a carve-out for everything.
Yes, exactly.
I like dogs, I wish I could have one, but I'm not home enough.
Larry, your house looks like a museum on the inside. You can't have a dog. I mean, Larry's house
Well,
could
go
be
adopt
in,
one. I'm sure
like
there's one at the
architecture.
shelter
Well,
right now with your
I'm
name on
never-
them.
I'm never home enough, I'm not
We need
home
to
enough
foster.
properly care
You
for
can
one.
foster.
He could foster.
Larry-
Yeah, so
You could run over
Sign
and
you up,
check on the
Larry.
animals
You
when
gonna come
you,
and watch them for me? You and Dana, y'all can come and watch them.
Larry could watch them at my house. I've got dog here, but Larry, has anybody been in Larry's house? I've been in there once and he was like, oh my God.
Really? Well, I didn't know it was that tidy.
It was tidy. It was really, it was a masterpiece really, but anyway,
What about nuisance
Mayor's in
barking?
charge.
Is
Come on,
that-
Mayor.
that's
Do you get
against the
called on
ordinance. We
that?
get a lot of that. We get a lot, dogs are my trash. I don't know what it is. All of a sudden, so many dispatch calls. Well, I'm sitting here looking out my window and there's a cat walking by. I guess people are at home and aren't working, I'm not sure. I'm not saying that we don't need to go out, but then dogs are my trash, dogs are my trash. Put your trash up, well, come get the dogs, but put a lid on your trash, because it attracts wildlife besides dogs and cats. So I don't know if it's because of the COVID and they're at home and they're still have some money left over, but, and watching out their window, it's just amazing to me. Just staring out the window, trying to call animal control. But anyway, I can have a solution for most things. I'm not sure about all the feral cats. We'll have to really work on that. But I do think if we implement some sound policies with some carve-outs, of course, I think we can really make a difference here.
Well, you know, we have some raccoons that patrol our neighborhood at night.
Yeah,
To,
I have one in my attic.
you know, get cat food, so.
Yeah. Larry feeds a bunch of crows.
And I have a rescue dog too.
I used to.
I have a rescue dog.
No, I think you're still doing it. I mean, I'm at my bird feeder, and I said, Larry, are you feeding all the crows? But anyway.
Well, I'm good.
Any other questions? I mean, I
Thank you, Marta.
tried to help the best I could.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
So is there a way to get something on the agenda for next month about, how do we do that?
Let me talk to Steve a little bit, and we'll see what it takes to work out.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Item 8, consideration and possible action to approve city staff to hire an architectural firm for preliminary design of a family entertainment center contingent upon funding from a third-party organization.
Mayor, could I request that we go out of order and get 9 first?
Yes.
And then back to 8? I
Okay.
got that out of order.
All right? We'll strike that for now. Item 9, consideration and possible action to approve an agreement with RCL Development for 5 acres near the high school to potentially locate a family entertainment center.
Is that what this is? Mayor? The map?
Sleep? Thinking about it, I can see the square up there.
You call me a square?
We never do that.
More like a blockhead.
There it comes.
It's warming up.
Next year, we will be requesting in the budget to have the 80-inch television screens that we can boost up there, so.
Of course, you'll probably say that's coming from the council's budget.
Well,
Is that right?
obviously, I mean, that would, no. So, let me familiarize you, back up just a hair. You guys may recall that the Youth City Council last year had approached you about the possibility of creating a family entertainment center. Well, staff has still been working on that. We felt it was imperative that we get a location first before we got much further, because commercial space in Seminole is, thank you, is limited. The commercial space is hard to come by, especially in a format that would lend itself to be successful long-term for a family entertainment center. So when we talk about a location, we finally came up with one. This is Seminole State College here in this area. This is the new high school, and this is the 300 acres that RCL Development has purchased and has begun to plat. I'm going to make special note that this is a conceptual drawing, especially with regard to how this is going to be laid out. This has not been approved by the Planning Commission in terms of the layout and the zoning. They have had some discussions about the planned unit development, but nothing has been firmed, so please note this is still in a conceptual area. However, this is not conceptual. We have reached an agreement, or we think we've reached agreement pending your approval, that Larry Owsley and RCL Development will barter for the 5 acres that you see here. That is obviously a prime area directly across from the new high school. This is a blow-up of that same area, so we can kind of tell where it is in relation to the new high school driveways. So that gives you an idea of how they plan on the ingress and egress happening around a potential future entertainment center. So just to bring you up to speed, the the entertainment center that we would like, all right. Of course, I don't do these, I do Max. So this is an entertainment center that we would like to model ours after, not necessarily the signage. Those are very, very expensive. This is in Chandler, Oklahoma. And we went up and met with Sid Hayes, who is the gentleman that built this and owns and operates it. And they've done a fantastic job of piecing this together. And we're extremely impressed with what they came up with. So you can see that there's a full-fledged arcade. That is something that we would love to see in Seminole, especially next to the new baseball complex. If we have a regional high school basketball tournament, anything that helps bring crowds to town, we would now have a place to go. Obviously, the bowling alley is a must. That's the same thing that the young people were asking for last time that they had a chance to visit with you. So all of those lanes, when you begin, if you're like me, when I walked into the Chandler facility, all of this, I began a calculator in my mind. So I'm seeing this arcade, and I'm thinking, all right, that's $800,000 worth of stuff, and these bowling lanes are $100,000 each. And so I'm thinking, wow, this is going to price us out of the market very quickly. Well, when we actually got to visit with Sid, he said, look, this is all brand new or new, like new, Brunswick furniture and ball returns, all like new. These lanes are like brand new. All of the return, everything, he bought all of that at auction for $10,000. And yeah, okay, well, that's a once-in-a-lifetime deal, right? And he belly laughed. He said, well, as a matter of fact, I've got 3 in the barn back here, and I can show you how to do that at auction. When you go in the restrooms in Chandler, he's cut up one full bowling alley and made restroom stalls out of it. All the countertops are made out of things that he's bought at these auctions, and they're essentially brand new. So this, they've made a putt-putt course out of the pallets, the foam that he sprayed the insulation in. He's a genius, and he reminded me that his buddy Jackie Gamble, who most of you probably know Jackie, is his partner that may have helped design a lot of this. So we've got a local presence that can kind of help walk us through. But most important at this point is that we talk about this 5 acres, and is this something that the city council might want to do? So what we're asking for tonight is for you to, wait, I'm not ready for that. I need to go to number 8 now. If you have any questions about the location, or, is that right? What's number 8? Is number 8 the?
Consideration of possible action to approve city staff to hire an architect.
Okay. So,
Mayor, I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
So you said we came up with a location. Who came up with the location?
The staff.
The city staff did?
Yes, ma'am. We've been asking various people if they would be willing to swap. Actually, one of the things that, this has been, dozens of owners around town that own frontage of any size. Sid Hayes said, don't build it like I did. I tried to keep it to 3 acres, and I needed more. Get 5. So that's why we kind of stayed with a 5-acre concept. We talked with Zach Taylor down here on this little plot. We couldn't come to terms, and that was more our fault than his. But we felt like this was probably the best location for us with the terms that were being provided. So the terms would be we would have an understanding, a memorandum of understanding, and eventually a contract to convey that 5 acres to us in exchange for boring this highway and getting the sewer line down to our main, or our lift station, which is right here. So you just approved or reapproved this easement through the high school property, okay? So what we're talking about is spending our ARPA money, or at least a portion of the ARPA money, to bore that highway and run that sewer line to the facility down here in exchange for the 5 acres. Now, what he gets out of it, obviously, is access to sewer to help do the rest of this. So whatever we do is going to be much, much bigger than what just an entertainment center would need.
It'd be big enough to handle all that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so.
Go ahead.
So when we built the lift station, we had all of this already in mind. So all of this was taken into account when we sized this lift station.
When you're looking at locations, were there no locations within, like, closer, you know, like, I'm thinking specifically Ward 1, was there 5 acres available there? Or did you look, or were there no takers? What did that look like as far as trying to find
I'm not
multiple
opposed to
locations?
that, certainly. I can't think of anything. We looked at the bowling alley, the old bowling
Where it
alley
used to be.
spot.
Mhm.
That's just not near big enough. I mean, that's not quite 2 acres, so, but, yeah, when you start looking around and say, where's my 5 acres, you're gonna run into floodplain issues or dirt work issues where it's real sloped. It's just very difficult to find, well, you know how hard it has been to try to find a soccer field for the kids to play on. So when you talk about 5 acres, it's very difficult to find.
Is there an opportunity, though, for us to, because this developer obviously gets something out of this MOU, right? It's an exchange. Is there an opportunity for us to kind of put that out? Not a request for proposals, but I guess maybe something similar to where other developers and other locations throughout town might want to offer something as well.
Or is there any kind of opportunity for transportation to and from? I mean, the kids, our
Can you
Ward
answer-
One,
can you answer
the
my
Ward One
question?
community has a lot of families that can't even afford cars. A lot of people that can't. But, so kids could be transported back and forth. I mean, I got up to come to, today I could pick out which jacket I wanted to wear, what shoes I want to wear, things like that, which, even maybe which car to drive. There's the kids that I'm most concerned about are the ones that don't have the resources to utilize an entertainment center. I love it that this is youth generated. And to get people back and forth, is that something that could be built into it, into the whole
Well,
concept?
Can he answer my question first?
Oh, I thought he had, sorry.
He did.
So backing up, the question is, can we put this out in kind of an RFP,
Maybe.
a request for proposal, to put it out there to other landowners that have highway frontage that might want to be able to trade something for the land? I'm certain that that could be done.
Right here.
Brad? I'm certain that that could be done. I'm not sure how we would score a proposal like that. Ultimately, and I'm just going to talk like a developer would, ultimately you're going to come down to traffic count. So when you have, I think that's 9,600 cars per day in front of this.
That's what they say.
if you're down on Broadway, that's going to drop off into the 5,000s. So, I mean, what we're really trying to do is make sure that this is a going concern long-term. We don't want to get it in there and end up having to supplement if we can help it. So I think part of the scoring criteria on an RFP, it would have to deal with traffic count. You know, what does that look like? The cost of the infrastructure, et cetera.
I think it's a great location. I just want to make sure that we give, you know, other developers, other landowners, an opportunity as well. And I think we owe it, you know, to the city to utilize those, bring in any type of resources that we can.
So one of the longer term issues though is we're still gonna be responsible most likely for running that under the highway and then getting nothing out of it. I mean,
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what we're gonna get if we do an RFP, but that is one of the pluses. We kinda at least get something back, and then we still have to build it. I mean, it's just the land we're talking about, but,
I don't think you're gonna have another development of this size anywhere else.
we don't have that much land.
Well, it's not, it is exactly what you're saying. It is about the land and having 5 acres, but just as importantly is having the land at a reasonable dirt moving cost. So the dirt, as we learned in the Reynolds Wellness Center, moving that dirt is so very expensive. We may be able to find 5 acres elsewhere, and that 7 acres right here was okay, but we were still going to have to move a lot of dirt, which is going to eat into what you can put in the facility. So that's really the other big variable.
The income generation, I think, from this right here, school, people, highway, tournaments, I mean, I think anybody willing to put a business there is gonna be much more profitable than anywhere else, in my opinion. Because you have to have people.
But I agree with that, but I also agree that we have other developers and landowners in the city limits who I think maybe deserve an opportunity to make a case for that as well.
What is the cost for the boring to approximately?
So the boring is going to be $300 a foot. So I'm estimating that has not been engineered. Larry Owsley is working on the engineering. They are paying the bill for the engineering for the bore. But I'm going to estimate about maybe 90 feet to get across from side to side. So what's 27,000? Am my math right?
Pretty close.
Okay, so I'm going to say 27,000 to get across the highway, and we're pretty good at installing the sewer once we get across, if we can find pipe.
Any other questions?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Has RCL already paid for this land, or is it still a concept?
RCL has purchased the land. They own it in deed. It does have a bank note on it. I have asked the bank and received confirmation that if the city obtains that 5 acres, they would release the lien on the 5 acres.
Thank you. That's my question.
Any other questions? You have anything else on this?
No, sir.
So which item do you want to go to, 9?
The approve the agreement, right? We want to approve. So we're still on 9, right, Jay? We're on 9? So if we don't approve the agreement, then I don't need item 8.
Okay. So I'll reread item 9. Can we turn the projector off? I don't want to be in the spotlight.
That gives you a nice look there.
I may need some lights as well, now that you turn that out of mine. consideration and possible action to approve an agreement with RCL Development for 5 acres near the high school to potentially locate a family entertainment center.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
No.
Motion passes.
Go back to item 8, consideration and possible action to approve city staff to hire an architectural firm for preliminary design of a family entertainment center contingent upon funding from a third-party organization.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 10, discussion and possible action regarding the city's participation in the installation of a sewer line from the property line of Seminole Public Schools to the city's lift station that will serve the new baseball complex in an amount not to exceed $60,000 with funding to be from city's proceeds from the American Rescue Plan Act.
Motion to approve.
Look right here.
No, I'm not gonna look right there.
Second.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Move on to remarks and inquiries of mayor and council members. We'll go to Ward 1, Larry Church.
Last time I didn't have anything to say, so I want to use that time plus this time.
No, you can't do that. You
Tonight.
don't get to do that.
So we'll all be here till 10 o'clock. I don't think I have much to say except that, COVID is picking up as predicted. In the wake of Thanksgiving, and I anticipate that there's no reason it won't pick up even more during Christmas. After the Christmas holiday, about 2 weeks out, there'll be another boost in it. I want to take this moment to encourage people to be very conscious of that and their holiday celebration. I hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas. And just be cognizant of the fact that I'm 73 years old, and people my age comprise about 75% of those who die from COVID. So if you want to polish me off, yeah, cough in my face. No, please wear a mask, protect the people that you'll be visiting this, and just take some standard precautions. 98 now. There's 98 clients that are involved in helping decide how we approach protecting them from COVID, and we've used standard precautions all this time, and we've had 0 COVID cases. Everyone is completely vaccinated at this point with a booster. A majority of those folks have diabetes, COPD, any number of health problems or health issues that would contribute to their death, and we haven't lost a soul. Haven't been threatened.
Good deal.
And encourage other people to consider doing the same kind of precautions for their families. And Ward 1 appreciates the endeavors that our staff has done for our city, and to bring these kinds of proposals forward. I know Steve's been working on that stuff for a long time, all of it. And he's been fully supported by me. There has been accusations that I've flipped. I never flipped. I've always been supportive of our staff, down to their salaries and everything else. We're lucky to have the staff that we have to run our city. And I'm sorry when I get in the way, but I just can't keep from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dana?
Thank you, Mayor. Quite a few festive events going on for the holiday season. And I just want to recognize the Seminole Arts Council, who had the Chocolate Festival this last Saturday. It was very, very well attended. Not only, the Arts Council, but there were just, I know Wrangler had their employees, I think they had a raffle for if you donated chocolate to it. And it was really great to see businesses get behind a community event like that. That's just one. There were several individual donors who participated in that. So saw Steve there, came and got some chocolate, so thank you for being supportive. The community looks up to you as a city leader, and when you come there and make your presence known and supportive, it's noticed, Steve, so thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank and recognize Jackie Dill for her leadership in that successful event. And then right afterwards, you just walk outside, and there was this wonderful Christmas parade that, again, happened in Ward 1, so I'm just super excited anytime anything happens here that's positive. So I want to recognize the Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Business District folks. That Christmas parade was festive, it was fun, it was good to see everybody come together, and just, it was really good vibes, really good feeling there. And got to see the mayor's car go through there, so it was fun.
It's awfully slow, though.
It
Go a little
was.
faster.
So it was really nice. And then just a couple constituent issues, I mentioned this last time, and we talked a little bit about, the vandalism and theft of holiday decorations, but it still continues to concern me because I'm seeing, and maybe I'm just more alert to it, but I'm still seeing, mentions of vandalism. I think just, a few blocks, or actually a couple blocks from me, a vehicle was stolen, break-ins are happening. So I just want to just keep that on the radar and continue to ask for, any support for our police department, and ask for possibly maybe a task force, a citizens task force that could assist the police department in these issues. So just want to keep that on your radar. While I was volunteering at the Chocolate Festival, I realized that the community portion of the municipal building just across the street, we had someone in a wheelchair and weren't able to get them. They had to go around the back. We had to open a back door. We don't have a ramp. We don't have a wheelchair accessible ramp, which is, I didn't realize that until it was brought to my attention. And so, Steve, I meant to reach out to you and alert you to that, but I'm sure you already know about it, but I wanted to make sure that you knew about it. And then also, Jim, wanted to, again, thank our council, our mayor, all the city employees. Kind of got to see the process in action. We had a budget in front of us. We talked about, designating some dollars to improving our streets, our infrastructure. And while I was away for Thanksgiving, I got an update from Steve that there was a small portion of College Street that was fixed. And when we got home, I'm such a nerd, I went and everybody come, let's go drive on that little portion of the road. And it's really exciting because I know it means a lot to the people who live in that area, who have to travel over it every day. And it's really great. And, I drive past all of the construction going on. I can't think of the name of those streets across.
President Street. You can just call it
Residential streets. Presidential Street. Oh, yeah, like Hoover, Wilson. Oh, okay, good one. So those are all, being worked on. And so you see those folks, standing outside when it's, it's cold or it's, it's warm, and they're working hard. And so I just wanted to say it's exciting to see that process in action, and then to recognize all of the folks who have made that happen. Just appreciative of it. So thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Ward 2? Well, we don't have anyone here from Ward 2, so I'll move on. Ward 3, Tim Popland.
I really don't have anything. There is a lot going on around Seminole. and the crews are busy. I think there's some personal donations that are being put together for the animal shelter. I really can't talk about it now, but I'm glad we kind of let that thing lie and see what we can do before we make any big changes, because, you know, we all love our animals and we don't like to see them put down, but, you know, sometimes things got to be done, but we're working on that. But thanks for all that y'all do for the city, and thanks all the people come and talked about our new communications and internet service. So we're gonna go to work on that. It's gonna happen with you guys, but we gotta decide who's gonna make it best for the people of Seminole. Thank y'all for coming.
Ward 3, Corey Crabtree.
Tim forgot to mention this, but thank you to whoever's responsible for cleaning up Carson and John, that house that was burnt. We appreciate that. In terms of us going home every day, Tim and I both see that, so we appreciate that. That one's been sitting there for a little while. So I was out of town when the parade happened, but I heard it was great. Sorry I missed it, but I heard it was also cold. So I was in a warm theater in Branson, sorry. And also lights. I've noticed a lot of people, I always put lights up on my house because I just enjoy it a lot. But there are a lot of people that have lights up this year, which is awesome. So if you guys are out and about, come down Carson Street by Northwood, and there's just about every house on that street is lit. And it looks great when you come around the corner, so.
You have a tip jar in front?
No, sir.
Okay, I figured you was going there.
People are just trying to compete with me, I guess, or something, I don't know. I'm about to build something.
Go ahead,
next
sorry to
year.
interrupt.
It's all right. And lastly, I was just gonna wish all you guys a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because we won't meet again until next year, so. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ward 4, Chris Hansen.
I agree with most everything that's been said here tonight. I don't have anything else to add to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ward 4, Tracy Connor.
Kind of the same way, everything's been pretty much touched upon here. Want to congratulate the Seminole High School girls. They continually get better and better dominating, and congratulate my OSU Cowboys for another great win in Bedlam, and then also in the wrestling, which we just destroyed. But anyway, that's all I got.
Well, now I have to counter some. You know, when I saw Steve wearing an orange shirt after that, I had to look at it, because I said, you don't get to wear it 3 times in 15 years? I had to take a hard time. All right. That was mine.
Trace, do you have a head coach at your university?
Yes.
Oh.
And our recruits are still there.
Yeah.
All right, so my turn. Yeah, I would like to congratulate the Arts Council and Chamber of Commerce for the activities that went on. Unfortunately, was at a family reunion, got in late, so I didn't get to partake in any of the chocolate, which was really, you know, bad on me. I really would like to. But you said we had how many entries in the parade? 52 entries in the parade.
It's a big parade.
That is a lot. You know, I was able to be in it. My wife said, though, I had to dress up like Santa Claus, and she dressed up as Mrs. Claus, and we had the grandkids out dressed up as elves and stuff, so handing out candy. So it was good, and you're right, it was cold on the kids, but I was inside nice and warm in the car. So congratulations on that. It was a great turnout. I don't think I've seen a turnout like that for quite a while on parades, so it was great. And the band was right behind us, and it was great to hear the Christmas songs. I love that. So I see they're still working on lights on Main Street. That's good. They're progressing slowly, but it's progressing, and that will be nice. I know it was dark on the south part of Main Street.
Very dark.
But it will soon be lit up brightly, and we can't wait for that. One of the things I had mentioned to Bryant was a big drainage hole that we made it a little larger by the roundabout. And I was asking about if we might need a guardrail along it, because as people come around that, if they don't continue to make that curve, I'm worried someone might drive off in it. So you might make a note to just check that and see if that's something we need. I'm assuming he's on vacation.
He is
assuming.
not. He's
not?
ill.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I hope he gets better.
Me too.
Um,
He's important.
So anyway, something might look at and see if that's
Yeah, we're on
the
it.
case, because
Yes,
I'm
sir.
worried someone might drive off into it. Well, I would like to also thank everyone for coming out and providing information about your companies. You know, this isn't gonna be an easy decision, I don't believe, but, you know, we need the information from you guys, to be able to make a wise choice. You know, we know that in today's world, being connected at a high speed, reliable connection, high speed, is very important. You know, it allows, as you've mentioned, people to work from home. I know there's some people moving back from the northeast part of the country, and they're not even looking at Seminole, because we don't have high speed. They're looking at around Shawnee. And so, you know, we're losing people that, you know, won't look at us because of the internet speed we have. So that's a very important decision that we'll have on hand to make. So with that, I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I guess we'll see you guys next year, unless you're gonna be at the Christmas party. Oh, I know, he's gonna talk. Believe me, I know he's gonna talk. At the Christmas party for the employees, which is Friday.
Friday.
If we're gonna have a majority, do we need to post?
Yes.
Okay.
So we need if you're interested in coming, just get with LaDonna or tell me tonight, and we'll get that meeting
We
posted.
need to know that by really
We need it
tomorrow.
by Wednesday early,
Yeah.
but
Well, if you think you're gonna go, I mean, how many think they're gonna go? It's at noon.
11:30-ish, yeah.
That's five, so you probably.
Okay, so that's
So we got 5.
Yeah.
Can we also vote on Mayor Griffin dressing up as Santa again?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. Okay, so
There's our.
I'll get.
I didn't put her up to
No,
it.
no. Because I told my wife, I said, well, I don't wanna say what I said because they may be listening, so yes, I was gonna get with Steve and actually bring something up, so. You and my wife are thinking on the same list on that.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, well, or out to get me, I'm not sure. All right, with that, I would turn it over to our city manager, Steve.
Okay, real quick, Chocolate Festival, fantastic. Good job, bravo. That was really fun and great job by the Arts Council. The parade was amazing. Some of them were high-flying acts. Thank you guys for being there. That was pretty cool. I agree with you. It's pretty phenomenal to be able to work. It's a privilege to be able to work for a city council that participates. And I see you all out all the time at different things, and it's just refreshing to have city council that is engaged and experiencing life in Seminole. So it's a lot of fun. And it's also fun to do what you mentioned, when you develop a budget and see things occur as a result of your actions, and seeing the streets that are being fixed. And I know Facebook gives us some grief from time to time, but I think Sean is making a video that's pretty telling, that should come out just after the first of the year, that basically shows the impact that you and your decisions have made, and it's going to be impressive. It is impressive. So thank you for that. Mr. Church, thank you for the cleaning supplies. That's a huge deal. We appreciate that more than you know. I don't know how many tons of cleaning supplies that you're giving us, but it's a lot.
140,000 pounds.
140,000 pounds of cleaning supplies, from everything from bar soap to sanitizer to dishwashing soap. I mean, we got enough to fill a warehouse for sure. Thank you for
I may need to
that.
borrow that soap.
Snowman Wonderland, Lions Club, man, you guys are knocking it out of the park. It's a privilege, and I know our staff feels like it's a privilege to be able to serve alongside of you guys and get it prepared. Our staff enjoys it, and they do a fantastic job at it. Brad, I got to say thank you. All the documents that you see that are thrown at you, not just during this meeting, but, you know, the rough drafts that we occasionally send out, he's extremely responsive, and I certainly appreciate everything that he does. On a moment's notice, we get attention, so that's a big, big deal. Sharon Emmett, you guys saw in the grants today how grant writing is not easy. And it's especially not easy when you've got other hats to wear for codes and enforcement and things like that. So Sharon, thank you. Fantastic work as always. I want to encourage you to spay and neuter your pets, okay? It's a real tragic thing to have to walk in there and see those poor eyes looking at you. It's just crushing. So I just encourage you to do that. As everyone knows, this is the time of year for feats of strength. No Seinfeld,
Festivus.
no Seinfeld fans in here, really?
I said we put a poll right here.
This
and just
is,
air our
this is
grievances
the
right
time
now.
of year for feats of strength. If you've watched Jerry Seinfeld's show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, this year's was deer wrestling. And I just want to say to Tim Poplin, even though he didn't win the deer wrestling event, when you look at his eye, hey,
Is that what that is?
we appreciate you giving that much effort, buddy. Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you. Brad Carter, City Attorney.
I don't have anything to report, other than the Steve's OSU shirt was made of terry cloth and had pointed collars down to here. That's how old it was. So, that's how old it, that's when the last championship was.
I saw them
All right, I do have one other thing to say. I think if you go through every ward, you're gonna find activity of construction or construction that has just been finished. It is amazing the amount of activity that is going on in the city. And it takes everybody, I mean, our city staff, all the workers that deal with our sewer and our streets and everything else, to make it happen. So I wanna thank everyone on the city council. This has been fun, but I may not see you until next year. So I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.